Hello everybody, my name is RODGON. I'm an artist, I'm a designer, I'm an illustrator, cartoonist, editorial dude, publisher, graphic designer, marketer, whatever the hell you want to call me. And today, I have the absolute pleasure of being your art instructor. I get to be your next cool art teacher. I could beat up your old art teacher too. So, we normally sit here and we talk about difficult topics that are normally hard to draw, aka things that help you with your comics, things that help you with your kids' books, things that help you with your perspective, your anatomy, your character design, your shape design, and all the things that are normally hard to be able to draw better. I am a master at that stuff, and I'm incredibly good at teaching it. So, today, we are going to explore something that you guys get to choose. You all get to choose the themes that we normally talk about. So, it's up to you all to give me a topic to start with. And once we get to 5,000 likes, we will begin our lesson. So, let's just start drawing, and if you guys like what you see, if you guys learn anything, just click that little like button. Deal? Perspective. Okay. What if I told you that you could learn perspective by learning how to draw a circle? If circle, and I like to call this bubble perspective. Okay? Bubble perspective is really, really easy and fun and useful. Okay? If you just have a circle and you learn what a concept of a diagon is. A diagon is drawing a circle inside of a circle, creating multiple surfaces or guidelines. Okay? So if you learn to draw those but sideways, you get a surface. That surface can be used to draw characters on it. You can use that as a separation of the sky and the ground. You can use it to draw all your elements. And then when you're ready, you just crop it where you want the illustration to be. So the beautiful part about this sort of perspective is that it's not very difficult and you don't have to really deal with much of a horizon line and points. If you make a circle inside, you have now access to drawing a surface. You can be hanging off the surface, you can be leaning up on it, you can be doing anything you want to these, because now they are little freestanding platforms. But now let's say that I wanted a different character, and this character was also in the scene, but wanted to interact with those. Well, I can just do that and draw its own little bubble, and then draw a circle inside to generate some depth. Boop, 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 boop. Now these two could be interacting. They could be on a mountain, they could be on two different sides of the school, they could be on two different things. Two different vehicles, two different mechs, two different buildings, different mountains, whatever. And if you learn to draw those circles, it's ambiguous. So this could also be seen from the bottom side. So now you can have somebody all the way at the top. Yay! And as you build those circles fuller, you get more extreme views. So you can use this sort of perspective to build scenes and have everything tied in together, and everything can look like they're part of the same scene. And when you're ready to put everything into the same, you draw a big circle around that, And now everything is within that same scene. This is what I call layered perspective. Okay? Being able to layer your perspective instead of just seeing it as one basic horizon point, because not everything is in the same platforms, not everything is in the same angle, not everything falls within the same barriers of the same horizon line, right? Things point in different directions. Things are not uniformly built. You know the reason that you do a lot of that sort of perspective? I'll let you guys know, like, the reason why if you guys get me to 1,000 likes. How about that? You guys get me to 1K likes, and I'll tell you guys why people do the whole horizon line and vision points. It's a very simple thing, but it's very useful when you use it properly. Perspective isn't difficult. Perspective is just explained really hard. Perspective is actually quite easy. It's all math. Not meth, math. Okay? The reason that a lot of people used to do, like, they do perspective in like 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point is because you can do things like cityscapes really easy. That's the reason. The reason for it is to build cityscapes. It's meant for an architectural, engineering, drafting type of thing. It was made for that. That's the type of perspective that you're building. Now, being able to use it for characters is useful as well, but I find it less useful than you might think. Because I don't like having everything constrained like that. I don't like having everything have to be a box that's aligned with a focal point. I just don't. I like drawing my characters and then figuring out the perspective after. So if I have my character, then figuring out the perspective would just be a matter of following the edges, right? Or you just draw a little circle and give it a surface. If I don't need an entire world around him, I just need to ground my character. I don't need to build an entire world and horizons and sun and everything. If I don't need to do all that, why am I building characters with perspective that has a lot of unnecessary steps? So I came up with a bubble perspective. Bubble perspective allows me to draw my character any way I want. Let's keep them simple for now because we're not focusing on the character. You can give anything perspective by drawing a circle inside, determining one side to be the front, one to be the back. If you do that in different directions, you have different views. You have different guidelines, right? If you just draw the circle in a different width, not even a different direction, just draw the circle a different width. And you can get different perspectives. That's it. A full circle would just be the eyes up here. So again, this could be a surface or this could be a guideline. It's really, really fun when you can use the same concept for different things. And again, drawing different surfaces. You can draw different surfaces and then connect them all. And then you can get things like stairs. You can think things like dungeons. Because it's just little layered circles. And then the ultimate one, the one all the way at the end, right? That's the one that gets all the treatment, like backgrounds and mountains and all that stuff. But until then, this could be just cliffs, this could be steps, it could be anything. Because it doesn't have to do anything with this bottom one. This bottom one can be in any shape they want. Because every single surface has a slightly different viewpoint. Not everything aligns the same. They align the same when they're buildings and they're roads and stuff like that because they're straight lines most of the time. They're grids. When it comes down to organic landscape, there isn't that. Right? There's more unevenness and things like that. So let's say that you have a character that's over here and a character that's over here. They're not going to be in the same horizon line, really, Maybe this one is with the circle pointing up, and this one would be with the circle pointing down. And now just by doing those two little circles, and then let's draw another circle going in a different direction and put another person here. It all starts tying in together. It looks perfectly fine. And even if we switch back and forth between them, it's fine because real life terrain is uneven. Real life terrain isn't even. It's not that. It's not lines. Just kind of like bodies and stuff like that. I don't like drawing the body from a box ever, because I don't think that anything of our body, not our hip bones, not our rib cage, that's round. That's round. Your legs, they're round in nature, right? Round all the way down. Boo, 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 boo. And then your foot, relatively round. Round features connect to round features. And it makes it easier because round features give you depth by just if I, again, perspective, right? If I have a character and I want to give him clothes, all I got to do is draw a circle inside of him. This is going to give me the front and the back. So if I draw my circle thick, I can point my character's stomach down or up. If I draw the circle thinner, I get a more just straightforward and backwards view. But that circle being thicker can either point the characters up or down. How cool is that? And the little circle for your belly button happens at the top of your hip bones. If you learn how to find your hip bones, aka the little fly at the bottom, then you can draw your belly button, and your belly button gives you the middle of your body. Your arms are also round, right? You can draw little stick figures coming from the little compass, but then you need to have volume to this. So you always do the volume inside. Inside, inside. Inside, inside. Inside, inside. You draw all your volume inside. Why? Because you have bones. You have a bone, right? And that bone goes to your palm of your hand and stuff, right? And you have your elbow. Beep, beep. And then you have your bone that goes back in, right? So normally, most of the muscle happens on the inside parts of your forearm. There's a little bit on the outside, but most of it happens on the inside. So that's where all the overlapping things happen. So when you're drawing arms and stuff like that, you draw the outside first, and then the inside, because the inside is where all the little overlapping lines go. And that's in any direction, okay? Outside first, inside, because the squishiness happens inside. Okay, outside first, draw your hand, and then you draw inside. Outside first, into your hand, inside second. Okay? It's a very constant thing. It's going to be that with arms and legs. All right. If you guys want to continue this awesome lesson, get me to 10,000 likes while I take a sip of coffee. And you guys should tell me what else you guys want to learn, because I think we have established that perspective with circles is very useful for what we normally draw, not for entire building size, horizon, worldwide viewpoints that you have to draw the whole fucking void. No, I like my perspective to be centralized to my little characters, and I just draw a little bubble, a circle that's split in half, and I can draw them perfectly fine on surfaces. Okay, I don't have to, I just want to ground my characters. I don't necessarily need to create an entire world for them. I just need them to look like they're grounded. Let me find some characters that I can ground real fast. There you go. So we have characters right here. If I want to put this on a draw a circle, The lines don't even have to converge anything. Just do a little checkered mark. Okay, let's draw some more. I used it on this one. If you want to draw characters in separate different positions, just draw the circles in different directions. Your foot will normally follow the direction of the circle if you want to ground them. Bigger circles give you deeper depth. Okay. If you draw the circle really skinny, it's going to be like they're standing on the surface immediately. If you draw the circle thicker, it's going to look like they're standing on the surface. If you draw it even thicker, it's going to look like they're standing and you're like leaning back because your feet would be technically bending once you do that. So you have to align your foot, whatever foot you're drawing. Imagine that you're drawing a little circle underneath it and just keep on making that bigger. So you can just take, if you have a grounded foot, like the grounded part of this would be this little part, right? That's the part that's touching. Well, I can just make that bigger and give this surface. Whatever is touching, I can just radiate out and create those points. So I don't even have to have my feet in the same place. Let's say he was on the wall and he had his foot over here on the wall. He'd have a surface right here and he'd have a surface right here. So whenever I'm drawing it, I just connect the lines. I don't even have to worry about anything else after this. Once I find the direction of whatever grid lines, I can just use those little grid lines for the rest of the scene. Once I understand the direction, everything else just becomes extra lines that go up and down. Then we were talking about how to draw faces and animals with a little fly. So that one's fun. That one's really fun because you just draw a little circle and from the bottom, you draw a little U and then you bring it back in. And that's going to give you the curvature that you need for your eyebrows, the spacing for your nose, the spacing for your mouth. So it gives you everything from a basic circle. And that's really, really cool. Let's see. Do I have any more examples of that? I was just working on that, but I was working on that with Bernie. So, some examples of that. So by learning to draw that circle first is very, very useful. You draw the circle, the size that you want your nose. I like to stylize it by drawing a little triangle at the top. That's not necessary, but I like to do it. From the bottom, I draw the bottom of my eyes that align normally with the bottom of that circle, and they curve in to where the nose is because my eyebrow and my nose bridge curve into my nose. From here, that little circle, I draw a little teardrop that's going to give me the spacing for my mouth and my chin. The inside here is the inside part of my nose bridge. So I need a little bit of space here for the wall of my nose and my nostril. So I have my nose, I leave a little space, a tiny bit of space, a little sliver, and that's where my eye's going to go. The outside of my cheek connects to my chin, creating the curvature for the inside part of my jaw structure. The outside of this, my eyebrow, is always going to align with the outside edge of my eye. And it butterflies, just like a little butterfly here. If you just butterfly this area, you get your eye, you get your temple, and you get your cheekbone. And then when you want to draw your ears are going to fall roughly around here. Then from your ear down to your chin, you draw your jaw structure. And you just draw the sides of your head, which are two little circles about double the size of this. And you do that. If you want to do this from the side, it's going to be like this. Big circle for the side of your head, little circle for the first little butterfly, and a little circle for your nose. Okay, connect it all. Do, 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 do. And then the teardrop comes from there. Split this with your ear in half. A slight angle, not up and down, but a slight angle. Going around your head, you go boop, doo, 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 doo. You curve a little bit back for your neck. Whatever distance you chose to make that here, you drag it over here and you do it over here wherever this second circle connects. Okay? Your forehead indicates where your neck goes. Your forehead indicates where your neck goes. Your nose and your jaw structure are separate from that. But your neck and your forehead have a very cool relationship. Okay? If you move your forehead, your neck moves. Your jaw wraps around your neck. Your jaw is kind of like if you have an arm and you have a t-shirt that just wraps around. That's what you're doing. That's all you're doing to draw an arm. The jaw structure is a lot easier than people think. You draw it all the time. It just goes around your neck. And then it creates little shadows like a t-shirt would. Okay? It wraps around your face. I mean, it's the easiest example that I can give. It's a very simple way of seeing it, but it's just, what up, Wes? Le petite fenêtre. Even when we draw Disney styles and we want thin necks, yeah, check it out. So your neck is going to be controlled a lot by the tapering of the back and the way that you want to do this in the front. So you need to learn to adjust to that depending on if you have little rib cages. If you have a big rib cage, that changes. Right? And if you have an even bigger rib cage, let's say you're like the Hulk or something, you're going to end up in a very different position. But it's going to be a very consistent factor. Your neck wraps around depending on the stylization that you choose. Okay? The connection of your body, of your head and your neck, is going to be like a cone, that of a cone. This is going to be the connection to your rib cage. If you're big and buff, you're going to have a lot of space. And your head is going to have a circle, and then you're going to have your jaw structure most of the time inside. Most of the time, your neck is inside. Your head is inside your neck, dude. Most of the time, your neck has your jaw structure inside. Now, we wanting to do stylization can just do this. If we just learn that this is the base, right? That's the base, directly down. We just learn the exit point and the entry point, and then we taper that. And then you can get big necks, little necks. You can choose any sort of lines you want from there, because now you can modify these to be anything you want. Let's say you want a super big dude, like rah. Or you want a really skinny neck, you know, for like a little dude, like a normal dude. It's the connection with your ear and the connection with your rib cage that's important. And that's more like a cone than a cylinder or anything like that. And it's not as long as you think. Okay, your head and your neck, they're not very different, and they're not very long. Whatever distance you have for your jaw is about the max distance that you would draw for your neck. And then this neck right here is the same as this one. So this line, and this line are relatively the same. Unless you stretch your neck out, right? If you have your head pointing another direction, obviously this side is gonna be smaller because it's gonna get scrunched up, and then this side's gonna be a little longer. So whatever you take away from this side, because this got scrunched, whatever you take away from this one, you add to this one. It's always a give and take. There's never like, like mass doesn't disappear and appear. It just gets transferred. How would you draw a little wiener dog? A little wiener dog. Well, that's not we can't draw him in the Book of Bernie because he is not a part of the story. But let's draw it over here on this side. All right, so a little wiener dog. Let's see if we can do it from memory. If we draw a little circle, we split it in half, and we're going to elongate this part about as long as we want our little nose to be. We're gonna draw a little nose at the top. That's a little triangle. Now, you might have, the ones that I like are the ones that have like really furry like features. So I'm gonna draw that. And then they have their little necks, and they have little long bodies. The body is they have the same parts that we do. Okay, they have a rib cage, they have a spine, and they have hip bones. Depending on the length of the animal, if this case we're going to make them a little longer, we're going to draw the hip bones a little bit farther back. Give them a little tail. And then we're going to draw our anatomy just like we would a human. Okay, we have our collarbone, like we would have a human, but with animals, the collarbone, instead of being straight forward, it actually points back a little bit. They have their collarbones a little higher than we do. So this goes around and goes around this way. Now their arms, they're going to have very basically the same arms, but they're going to have them a little bit different than we do. Okay, they're going to have their thigh or their shoulder and their biceps and stuff like that would be pointing a little bit back. Then they have their forearm. Then they have their hands. And then the back legs have their thigh coming out of this big circle. So it's normally really thick thighs. Their calf, aka, let's say if you have a thigh for a human, that would be it, right? Then the calf part, the bottom part, is normally the skinny part that goes up for them. The bottom of your feet is going to be the longer part that comes down, and then their toesies are the ones that they're always on. So animals are mostly always on their toes. Their little rib cage wraps around, and they're going to have their belly. Whatever like little fur you might want to have. Little hip bones would create little overlapping lines. The shoulder blades would create little overlapping lines. And then from there, it's up to you, whatever you want to draw. Furry tails, little tails, any sort of pattern you might want to have on them, stuff like that. Or you can make them a war hound and send them to war. Let's give them some armor. Knowing where all the body parts go allow you to do this a lot easier. Okay? They allow you to be able to see things for what they can be, as opposed to just seeing them in a very singular way of approaching things. That's why learning anatomy is important. It's not about learning every muscle fiber. It's about learning the connecting points of your rib cage and your hip bones. If you learn that your rib cage and your hip bones can translate to things like animals as well, you'll be able to draw with the same consistency, the same patterns, both humans and animals. Mostly just from understanding how their body parts work. Because we have the same body parts. We have arms, we have legs, we have rib cages, we have hip bones, we have all that stuff. We are all part of the same evolutionary chain. And if you don't believe in evolution, well then, we were all made from the same mold. Except for octopuses. Octopuses and jellyfish are different. Anything that doesn't have a skeletal system doesn't really share that same benefit. But outside of that, you can draw everything else with that same knowledge. Like just learning how to draw the human body a little bit better. Just in simple, not necessarily complicated, right? Just a simple way of learning how to structure the body can be useful for animals, creatures, monsters, everything. So, what is the next thing you guys would like to learn, my friends? We have learned how to draw little puppies. Whee. We have learned how to draw perspective. Nose variations, twisting at the waist and neck. Okay, so that's actually a pretty easy one to teach. So let's say that we have a rib cage. Okay, a rib cage will always be a little egg. You don't have to be exact with the rib cage. You can be a little bit wider. If you draw circle rib cages, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get the shapes you want, as opposed to getting the shape you want from a little oval, but they're not wrong. Both of them can be done into bodies and characters, right? They're just going to give you different shapes, different proportions, different things, okay? You can draw characters with really tiny shapes, or you can draw characters with really big shapes. Proportions are going to be very dependent on what you want your characters to have, okay? If I want thinner arms, that's why we draw the outside first, right? We draw the outside first, and then I choose the volume for my arm second. If I want really big arms, I would create a longer extension of my collarbone so that I have more space to be able to fill in with more arm. So if I want bigger arms, that involves bigger shoulders, right? So learning how this little section is going to be our focus right now, okay? This little circle, the rib cage, that's going to be about a third of the size of what we draw that little circle. And we're going to focus on how the head goes from being 2 parts to 3 parts. Okay, when you're looking forward, it's going to be mostly 2 sections and a little bit of sides. And when you start rotating, you start getting a 3rd section. It's kind of cool. So let's start with drawing a collarbone and a rib cage. From there, we're going to draw a little cylinder. Circle, circle, circle. Okay, a cylinder, straight up going from that little circle. This is going to be the width of your neck. So if you overlap this line a tiny bit and then let these lines come down, you have the overlapping lines for your neck. Okay, that's going to be your collarbone, the muscle that's outside, the one that connects pretty much your shoulders and everything in between. Okay, your shoulders wrap around the front and the back of that shape. And now you have yourself a very basic head. Your muscles connect from here, your ear, to roughly around where your collarbone is, or your middle of your collarbone, and then you create the muscles for your neck. Knowing how to rotate the face is going to involve just learning how the neck, the ears, and the chin connect mostly. The moment that you move your chin to the left, which moves it outside your body, the ear moves alongside the same amount. So if you rotate from here to here, your ear rotates from here to here. Right? You're going to have a little bit more extension going into the side view. And you end up having that volume that you can use. So let's do it a little bit less complicated. We start like this, right? Front view, move the chin outside of the body, and now you have yourself your side view. So you always connect the bottom of the ear to the chin, bottom of the ear to the chin, bottom of the ear to the chin. Okay, every single time that you want to rotate your face, you follow the bottom of your ear to your chin. Bottom of your ear to your chin. The muscle lines, depending if you're not moving the middle of your body, like if let's say the body stays in the same place, but you're just moving your head, the muscles go from the ear to the middle of your neck. So, from a front view, you have two sections. Right? And you have a little section for your ear. When you turn your head around, you have those same two sections, but now you're going to add a little bit of width, a little bit. So you end up having three parts. This circle, just move it to this front side, and then the rest of this becomes the side of your head. This circle that you drew right here gets bigger, and this section gets smaller. This is your eyebrow line. This is your cheekbone line. This is the line where your nose is going to be. This is the line where your ear is going to be. This gets split in half till you can find your mouth, and your chin is right there, connects to your ear. So for a wider jaw, the wings on the fly would be larger. Yeah. So if you draw this little fly right here and you connect it to your ear, you get those little curvatures too. Right? So if you do that, you can get that. You can get your nose if you do that as well. It's a little cool little master shape that you can use. It's a very cool shape that I like to use a lot whenever I'm drawing because it gives me a lot of mapping points really quickly. This little fly shape is very useful. You can use it for your eyes. You can use it for your nose. You can use it for your chin. And it's very useful to just be able to give depth to something really quickly. How would this work for a more exaggerated smile? Well, whenever you're breaking anatomy, you need to learn what the priority of the hierarchy of the things are, right? Your nose is always going to be at the top because it's going to cover most of the things underneath. Then you have your mouth and your your cheeks probably. So from the edge of here, you could draw your cheeks going down to your chin. And if you draw a really big smile, the limitations of your smile would be blocked by your cheeks. Okay, so if you're trying to draw a really big smile, it would be blocked by whatever cheeks because the cheeks overlap. They're the thing that sticks out the most from your body. They create volume, and then your mouth would dig into that volume, creating creases. So now if you're trying to do something like a Joker smile, you push these lines from the outside points of your nose, you push them up as much as you want, down to your chin. This is your cheek again. This is your cheek line. You need your mouth line, extending it as far as you want. And then your negative space would involve knowing where your teeth align with your skull. This would push my cheeks up, blocking a little bit of my eye and creating tension with my eyebrows. This would wrap around back to where my chin would be, and then I would have my jaw structure behind that. My ears would connect to my neck, and then I'd have the rest of my head, I guess, if it wasn't obstructed by the face. So pushing all the elements in one direction make everything else distorted as well. But knowing the priority, aka your cheeks, mouth, lips, nose, and stuff like that, learning what covers what is very important if you want to push it to extremes like that. I don't recommend going to extremes until you know how to do it at very simple levels. Right? Know how to master doing it at simple levels before you start drawing extremities, because then you're going to get used to doing shortcuts. And if you learn shortcuts, you end up cutting yourself like out of education that you need, more so that you require to be able to understand the more complicated things later. You need to be able to understand things like volume and form and flow, and understanding all those things is normally the stuff that everybody skips. Everybody skips learning how to move your shapes around because it's not the most fun. But being able to draw things that are fun, aka your comics, your poses, all that stuff comes with understanding that to an extreme. Especially if you don't want to be a generic, like, hey, draw the marble way type of thing. Somebody asked about chibis. Chibis are the same thing. They have a rib cage, they have hip bones, and they just have little legs and arms. But there's an easier way to do that. For chibis especially. And I'll show you guys right now. If you guys get me to 25,000 likes. Oh yeah, I'm going to hold you guys hostage for likes today. Oh yeah. Let's see if we can find some space to do some more doodles too. I want to make sure that the book is completed from front to back and I don't have to go back and do anything to it. So you're going to randomly see me like while we're waiting for like little structures or like likes or meeting goals or whatever. You'll see me just draw random doodles. Rotating at the waist torso. Okay, so we learned how to rotate the head. Let's rotate the torso. But I'll do it once you guys get me to 25,000 likes. I'm going to drink some coffee. Cheers. Iced coffee for the win. Where's my iced coffee lovers at? Anybody that drinks warm coffee, I don't know why you hate yourself. And anybody that drinks black coffee, I don't know why you hate yourself times 2. I don't get it. I don't understand you people. You confuse me. All right. 1 more 1,000 likes. But we'll start drawing all the things that we're going to need. Recently, I discovered the easiest way to draw bodies. And it's the best place to like say it right now. That coffee makes my throat hurt. Okay, so if you want to learn how to draw bodies, right, and you want to learn how to draw bodies quick, and you want to learn how to draw bodies for character designs and comics and storyboards and stuff like that, I'm going to teach you the easiest way to do it through Sam. Who is Sam? Sam is my simple anatomy mannequin. Hi, Sam. How you doing? So Sam consists of a couple basic shapes. In order to draw our rib cage, aka this very, very complicated body part that has all these bones and stuff, all these lines and guidelines and things. A rib cage, the simple shape for a rib cage is going to be that of an egg. So any rib cage we want to draw, we draw an egg. We draw a little circle that's about a third of our rib cage size so we can draw our collarbone. A little line that extends a little bit beyond our rib cage. And let's not focus so much on the shape of it right now because it's going to change depending on where your arm goes. It's going to always follow the upper part of your arm. Okay? Wherever you're drawing, except for you're going down. There's rules to it, but we're going to explain how to rotate things, not that part. So right here, there's going to be, again, the spacing for your neck and your head. This is going to be your muscles that you normally have in the back of your muscle, in your body. Your neck muscles, that's where you draw these. It's going to go around your rib cage, so if you don't have a lot of muscles, you just draw around your rib cage. But if not, you draw all the big muscular muscles there. You're like, oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah. Okay? All those muscles right here, we forget about them because nobody explains them right. But this muscle is often forgotten. It is often forgotten in the drawings. People just go from their necks to their arms, and this is missing. So I fixed that by making sure that people have distance between their arm and their rib cage, because this right here is going to turn into your shoulder. And then from this point, or here, back to your middle of your rib cage, you have your pectoral muscle. And then your bicep is in between those two. And then your tricep, and then you have a muscle in between that most people don't even use. And then you have your elbow, and then you have your forearm, and then your forearm goes to your hand. Okay? So this is how we're going to roughly structure the arm. So you draw the outside of the arm first into the inside squishiness sector. So now we have neck, a collarbone, some muscles, and we know where the arms are going to go. Okay? So now let's simplify it again. Egg, split into 3. Draw 1, 2, 3. And then we have ourselves our body. This is the basic structure that you're going to draw for Sam. Okay? This leads to the outside of your arms. Not the middle. This is the outside of your arm. This is where you would draw your muscles and then the inside for overlapping shapes. Your muscles wrap around your collarbone. Okay? Now, the hip bones. Did we talk about hip bones right now? Yeah, we kind of did. So, if you want to learn how to draw this, stupidly easy. Like not even guess where things go. Just draw a fat exclamation mark. Rib cage, hip bones. Ta-da! Just draw a fat exclamation mark, and then you have access to both of those, without really worrying about much. The size of the circle that you draw here will be the size of the circle that you draw for your neck. So whatever circle I draw for my fat exclamation mark is going to be the same size as my neck. My hip bone size will depend on what type of character I want to draw. If you notice that this is too far away, you just move it in. It's an exclamation mark. It doesn't take much to fix it, right? And that's why you draw these a little bit more like an oval, like an egg, more than a circle, so that you have a little bit of distance to make it look like an exclamation mark. And no joke, that'll be a huge catalyst in being able to draw things better. Now, knowing that these are supposed to be the same size, right? So if this one and this one are going to be the same size, I can reverse engineer it. I can draw both of those and then draw my things inside. So I can learn inside out, outside in, and I will never be perplexed by any single drawing that I need to do. Outside of my arm connects to that little lever. Check how it rotates around that lever. If you draw your rib cage and your collarbone, your arms drape around this. They go around, they drape. And whenever you lift them, they flow with your rib cage. So they always flow with the rib cage either one way or the other, or the other. Okay? So your body, your arms will always flow with your rib cage. They're always going to flow and then have inside volume, right? So you draw the outside first, inside volume. Outside first, inside volume. Outside first, inside for volume. Outside first, inside for volume. Rib cage, arms flow on the sides, come back in for volume. Outside, volume. Outside, volume. Once you find body parts, you can start segmenting it into anything you want. Now that you know how to break it down. So now let's break any shape. I want to make a body out of that. Cool. Find one shape for your rib cage and a little circle that you can draw little hip bones for. That circle, same size as circle here. Connect, and now you have a body from that shape. And making them smaller, bigger, just moves them in space. Let's make that finger like that. Flows from the outside. Overlappy shapes, overlappy shapes. Flows from the body. Outside in. So, learning how your body works. If you learn how to just use basic volume, flow, and perspective, you can create a lot of things really quickly without much struggle. Oh, thank you for the don't copy now. Hey, thank you for the roses. I spilled tea. Ooh, I gotta test that out too. Hold on, I'm gonna try something. So I'm gonna accidentally spill some coffee in my page. Oh no! Oh no! I spilled some coffee. Let's see if it stains. I kind of want it to stain. I like it when it stains. All right, Moosey, what's up? Experiment time. Oh no, I got my coffee all over my sketchbook. Oh no. Whatever shall I do? It is liquid. Well, now I have guidelines. Now I have some guidelines to draw some cool stuff. Now I have a challenge upon me. I can either make this into a pose. I can make these into little elements that will make my, like little powers and stuff like that. Or I can just use them as shadows. You obviously can't see it much on tan paper. It's literally almost invisible. But let's use what I can see, and I can see a shape that's about like this. I can see it more on the camera. All right, so we have that basic shape. Okay, let's see if we can make something out of it. If we find some hip bones, let's make this into... I see a big, beautiful woman. So I see some really large hip bones, and I see a rib cage around here. If I connect these, then I have the ability to draw from these poses. Boom, boom, boom. We have really, really big booty, but it's okay. That is what the coffee gods gave me. So again, you can be very creative with what you do once you understand where things land and how things can be segmented. You don't have to ever be relinquished to drawing the same thing ever again if you don't feel like it. Now, being able to draw more consistent is going to give you access to much cooler things down the line. This girl has a big booty. But yeah, like being able to enjoy, even when mistakes happen, like, oh no, I spilled my coffee. Oh, I spilled this. I made a mark. Oh no, it bled through. You can always make that into something fun. Like, remember, it's your book. You don't have no expectations to anybody, right? You don't have to do absolutely anything for anybody that you don't want to do. But it's really fun to experiment and explore and be able to do things that other people can't. And how do you get to do things that other people can't? Well, you learn through doing things that other people don't. Can you explain how to draw hair and its volume? Yeah, we have a little bit of space. So, hair. Learning how to draw hair is about understanding that it's not as big as we'd like to normally make it. When we're drawing hair is very much close to our cranium. Like our hair doesn't really stick out very much. Even when it's really long, it doesn't really go up very high. Like most of the time we have these crazy stylized looks that we want to create, right? So that is what we try to imitate, but real hair doesn't do that. Real hair tends to just be on the surface a little bit, right? A little bit, just a tiny bit. It's not very high. It's not very tall. It's not very voluptuous unless you have an afro or some purposely tall hair. Right? Unless your hair is normally ridiculously stylized, when it's long, it just wraps around your head. It goes up a little bit and then falls down around your hair. And then it's like a cone. It just wraps around your head. So I stuck on your pinups. Woo! Hey, wait. You said if something. Let's see. Well, let's finish explaining hair and then we'll do foreshortening. But you guys should get me to 35,000 likes. You guys should get me to 35K. And then I'll explain the next thing. Gotta feed my ego. Come on. My ego needs to be fed. You all know the rule. You guys make me feel cool. I make you guys better artists. That's the dealio. That's been the dealio for 12 years. You guys feed my ego. I feed your minds. I sent Art Block's book. Would you sign it, please? You'd have to send them to Mexico. That's the problem. Like, I don't live in the United States, so it would have to be international delivery. That would be a little bit difficult. Uh, hmm. I am going to go on convention tour at some point because I just want to go visit conventions. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to sell anything in conventions anymore. I did that 3 times, twice at Lightbox. It was great. It was fun. But guess what? No. No. I'd rather be the person that's walking around giving advice to people and like talking to them and checking out their portfolios and stuff like that and giving talks than sitting at a booth selling books. Yeah, making decent money, but again, I don't do this for the money. So it's like I found myself really, really sad during the whole week because I was like, even though I was talking to the people that I was like, I want to go to that talk. I want to go look at animals. I want to go look at that vulture. Like little things. And I'm like, I found myself not feeling so happy being at the booths. And whenever I did get to walk around and talk to people and like just experience being part of the community instead of being a person that's selling in the community, I was like, okay. Yeah, next year. So this year in Lightbox, I'm going to go I might want to do talks. I'm going to see if they'll let me do talks again because I got a standing ovation last time. That was really fucking cool. But learning that I might have a little bit more pull now because of the social media presence that I have. So I might be able to do like a whole seminar, or I'll be able to do like a sketch group session or something like that. And then maybe they'll allow me to use their resources to be able to put that together. And that would be amazing. Okay, so we didn't talk about the rotation of the torso. So the rotating of the torso is going to be literally just rotating this little line in that circle. So if you have your hip bones and they stay in the same place, right, and you rotate this, check it out. You're going to draw the same circle and angle, and I'm just going to move that line. I'm just going to move that front line. That's all I'm doing. I'm moving it around my shape. By doing that, I move the angle of the outside of my arm. I move the place with my body goes, my rib cage, my head. All that moves all those elements around. That little lever that you have right here with your collarbone allows you to do that. So a little circle with a line can give you a lot of indication of your whole rib cage. How cool is that? And then when you combine that with the exclamation mark, boop, boop, and you give it hip bones, you can draw more complicated shapes really quickly. Do you recommend a certain sketch? You know what? I highly recommend that you guys look up how to make your own. I did this book in like one night, with paper that I got at a thrift shop for like 10, 20 cents. So I just go and I find paper that I need. Sometimes I find like, I'm going to find really old school paper, like really old, crinkly like paper. I find that stuff at gift shops all the time for almost free, right? So I'm just going to find those sort of papers and just make my own sketchbooks. Like sketchbooks that would cost like $50, $60 that I can just make a cool sketch cover and just keep on replacing the paper inside. And so I never have to buy another sketchbook, even though I have them sponsored. I'm sponsored by some sketchbook companies, and I will promote them to all fucking death and back. So I like Illo sketchbooks, I like Danique sketchbooks, and I like Sketch Wallet. Those are the 3 products that I have bought, and I actually keep buying because those things are the 3 sketchbook material things. Like these are books. This one's like a little wallet that you have sketchbooks in. Those 3 have been the most useful sketchbooks that I have used in the last 10 years. And they're probably the prettiest too. Like they're really, really nicely done. The Nique ones, you can make your own covers. Like you can upload your own art for very much, not much more money than it costs to just buy them off of their site. Like it's really cool. Like you can put your own artwork in your sketchbook for not very much more. It's like $1 or $2 more, I think. So that I like that. And the Illo ones are just pretty. They're just pretty and well made. They're like they're the ones that you would just like leave on your tabletop just because, and they're not very expensive. And that's the cool part too. They're not very expensive. They're affordable. All of these are affordable as hell. And I don't recommend things to people unless I use them myself. And those are things, sketchbooks that I have used for years. 4 years. Not because they sponsor me. They sponsor me because I used them. It wasn't the other way around. I used them, they saw that I would tag them, and then they would offer me free product. So that's how you get sponsors, by the way. If you want to get better at getting sponsors and people getting you, things because they want you to use them, well, a big component of that is actually using the products and showing off that you are using the products. A lot of people don't want to do the work. They just want to get the benefits. Like they spend their time like, oh, I want to get this and this and this and this from this and this. And they're like, okay, cool. You know that you got to sell that stuff, right? You essentially have to become like a salesman for them. Oh, well, no, I don't want that. I'm like, oh, no, then you're not thinking right. I don't like having random drawings. So I'm going to cover that up. Exclamation mark from any angle. Once you find one circle, the other circle is the same circle as that bottom one. Okay, unless you're forcing perspective. In this case, it's coming towards us, so I'm going to make that circle a little bigger. Because the head needs to be a little bigger because it's coming up towards me. So by just changing that little aspect a little bit bigger to generate a deeper perspective view. This will always lead to the outside of your arms. It will always lead to the outside of your arms. Okay? It's going to be easy for you to learn how to pose things after you do that because everything just wraps around your rib cage. Have you ever sell an art book? I have multiple art books. I think I have a total of 4 now. I have a couple art block books. So the art block books are meant for like the sketchbooks that, it's like sketchbooks from the streams. This is all the stuff that you guys see on the streams. We normally put it there. Then there's a bigger one that you guys wanted a big version of it, and that's the raw art sketchbook. It's a huge version of these. And then I have my pinup book. My pinup book is essentially 20 years worth of pinups, and I compiled them all, digital, traditional, everything. And it's just an absolute, that's my most happy, beautiful thing that I have ever done in my life. That's the most beautiful book and piece of art that I have ever created. And that compilation in general is just like, to me, that is what I think that I bring to the world as an artist, not as a teacher, as an artist. That is what I want to do. That's what, like, pinups in general are literally the one thing that I want to learn how to do good and masterful. And then just, I don't give a shit if I do ever do anything else. If I manage to learn how to do and make money with my pinups, I don't want to ever do anything again. That is the ultimate goal. That's the reason that I got into art. I got into art so that I could do cool pinups with cute animals like Frank Cho and Chris Sanders and all that stuff. I learned how to draw so I could do that. So I find it really funny when people look at the drawings that I do, right? Some of the cute pinups that I do, and they think, oh, you're over-sexualizing things. I'm like, well, that's what I like. That's what I like. That's literally the reason I got into art. Just because it's not up to what you like, that doesn't mean shit to me. I'm doing what makes me happy. Now, you can either enjoy it or you can get the fuck out. want to, you have two options. And that will always be the stance. Regardless of the popularity I gain, regardless of the audience that I achieve, it's me first. Because it's my art. I get to choose whatever the hell I want. And I don't like being told what to do, as I have previously told everybody in my streams. So when anybody goes like, oh, you're not supposed to, I'm like, okay, let me do it 10 times more now. Just for you, Karen. So, like, I love pinups. To me, drawing sexy drawings, like not erotic, but sexy drawings, is one of those things that just makes me really happy. And it's always been a goal to be the best that I can at that. So, whenever I can, I practice my little cute animals so that I can draw them with my pinups. And I draw pinups all the time so that I can draw them with my cute, silly animals. And that is what I like to draw. That is my preferred artwork if I get to choose it, right? Teacher Taviant, how you doing, brother? Also, what's the best way to do the head face studies? By looking at people. Like I know that sounds like a very generic answer, but it's the very truth. Like, you have to go out in public. You have to go look at people and study them. Imagine that they're like a different species. And you're like, oh, that one peculiar one has a bushy mustache and he has no necklines. And his eyes are a little crooked. Right? Little tiny things, individualized things from people help you understand them better. Some people are going to have like really big, defined jawlines. And some people are going to have crooked noses. And some people are going to have fucked up teeth. Right? Some people are going to have like the whole, like, look. And then some people will just not. People will have really thick necks. Some people will have really skinny necks. Some people will have spiky hair. Some people will be bald. Some people will have receding hairlines. Okay? There's going to be a bunch of things that happen in the world, and you need to be able to observe every single variation of them. So if you are looking to be a character designer, guess what? Your new job is to go outside and see what the difference is between every single type of human and choose how you can learn to draw every single variation of them. From kids to grown-ups to old people to very muscular dudes, people that have really defined anatomy, people that have really soft anatomy, right? Understanding how all that works. If you want to be a character designer, that's just the steps. That's the baby steps. That's the intro. That's the door to being able to play in the game. Okay? Just learning these basic things that I teach you guys is gonna go allow you to participate in the structure of that community. And not do it without knowing what you're doing. Like, you'll actually be able to like embrace what other people are talking about. You'll be able to understand the concepts that people are doing. You'll be like, oh, this is how this person make this variation to create this different art style. Right? Knowledge opens up the conversation to you. But without that knowledge, it becomes really difficult to be even able to participate. So my goal is to help you guys get that knowledge. Do you go live a lot? Yeah, I go live every day. Every single day. Like every day, because I know that people could use someone to draw with. I know I go live every day because I know that some people don't have anyone to be there with them when they're creating. So it gives people a dedicated time to practice and spend their time doing a little bit more creative stuff in the morning. For those people that actually watch me in other countries, it gives them a chance to, get off work and actually have something to do. If they just mindlessly scroll, it gives them a reason to, maybe bust out their sketchbooks, maybe learn something new. So I like to think of myself like Bob Ross, but not as dependent on companies, right? Like I am a very, very self-sufficient studio scenario here, and that might be the reason I don't get a lot of things out as much as I wish I could. But I'd rather be a small company that has literally no boss or anyone above me than ever having to deal with people that I have to have like weird obligations to, and like have to like ask for things. Ugh. We're just using a normal Bic. I took the cap, I cut the tip, and I flipped it. And then I made this little thing out of 2 tips. And it gives me a flat surface that cradles my finger. And it gives me a wider surface because my fingers tend to cramp up. So, and it's really, really nice to be able to have that flat surface to change control of my thumb to my index. So I can draw different controlled lines with my thumb and different controlled lines with my index. Like, it's weird. If I need to draw from the side, I like to draw it with my thumb because I have a better control of it. But if I'm drawing detail, I need to do it with my index. And I'll flip over back and forth, back and forth. And it keeps my finger from getting tired. It keeps the pressure points from hurting, like, when you're pressing consistently in there. So it's an easy hack. You guys want to see how I do it? All right, where's the pen? So you take a normal pen. Oh, where's the pen caps? I had pen caps all over the place. Anyways, just take like an X-Acto knife. You cut the pen cap. And then, let me see if I have one. Moosey. There's nobody there, Moosey. No one there, dude. Mustache! Get over here! Go to your crate! Jesus, good boy. Here's your treat. Good boy. Jesus Christ, my little nosy dog. Yeah, he's a good dog. He just doesn't like people. He doesn't like people outside of me. Like, so he hears anybody walking outside, and he's like, oh, these motherfuckers. Oh, you motherfuckers. Oh, telling you. Get over here. Come here. No, come here. Right next to me. You're sitting your ass down. Sit. Good. No, I said sit. Sit. Down. Oi, oi, oi. Oi, oi, you're such a big boy. Yeah, you're defending the whole home. Oh, you're defending everybody. Yes. Hey, stop. I'm done with you. Stop. All right, everybody. Seeing as my puppy is trying to alert me that intruders are apparently going to kill me in my home, I will let you guys go so I can go check out. We're already at the end of our page. Moosey, stop. Stop. You want to play? Is that what you want to do? All right. Well, Puppy is saying that we are done with our stream. So I want to say thank you to everybody that chimed in, everybody that tuned in and learned anything. Please make sure to put it into play before you just forget it. Right? If you learned anything new today, apply it. If you apply it, you're going to have it forever. If you don't apply it, you're going to have it for a couple months, maybe think that you know it, and then you won't be able to repeat it a couple months down the line. It only takes 15 minutes. 15 minutes. And then just practice something you learned today. Do something that you're proud of with that knowledge. And then you will be able to use this and everything else you learn this way for the rest of your lives. All right? Have a lovely day. I will see you guys next time. Maybe later tonight for some karaoke and some music. See, Moosey says maybe karaoke. We do, yes. All right, Moosey. We'll do karaoke. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for everybody and the 47.8 thousand human beings that clicked that little like button. You guys are the reason that I do this, and you are the ones helping me be able to do this more. There's no donations needed, nothing. Just like and share all the stuff that you guys feel valuable. If you learned something, go look at my YouTube, go learn some stuff there. And if you didn't learn anything, tune in tomorrow. You might learn something tomorrow. We always do something different. All right? Later, guys. Take care.